Hello everyone, it's Jay, and today I want to talk about something a little sad for me, definitely. Which some of you might think is just not as serious, because we're talking about fantasy novels here in the end of the day, but it hit me in a different kind of way this time because it was all very personal to me. And if you couldn't tell by the title, I'm talking about Harry Potter and J.K. Rowling in here. And yeah, I'll talk about that a bit later on. But before, this is my mug of the day, or this time is cup of the day. And of course, it's Harry Potter themed. Very ironically, considering this video, but I got this as a gift and it's very pleasant to drink out of this. I have just iced water. Let's talk about Harry Potter, shall we? And I thought the next time I would talk about Harry Potter in a video, it would be a very happy video, but I never expected things to go this way. So, as you can tell, I'm a fan of Harry Potter. /was/still am. I'm not sure later about that. But, yeah, I've been Harry Potter fan my whole life, and it's been my whole life, okay? If I had to name two things that most for me as the human being I am today, it was emo music and Harry Potter. That was my personality for so much of my life. And yeah, as you can tell, there's, well, you probably cannot tell, but this massive poster that I've shown before in other videos is a Hogwarts poster, and you have seen me with Harry Potter cups and Harry Potter Lego and Harry Potter lot of things, some clothes that I gave away, which the fact that I gave some Harry Potter clothes away also has something to do with this video topic. So yeah, let's talk about how I started liking Harry Potter and how it became such a huge part of my life and why that's different now. I was born in the 90s, very late 90s, so I'm technically a 90s kid. Well, more of a 90s baby is correct, but I grew up in the 2000s, so I like to say 90s baby, 2000s kid, because that's how it is. And pretty much what kind of 2000s kid wasn't into Harry Potter, am I right? Basically, I grew up with the movies, not the books. Because the books came out sooner and I was growing up with the movies and not the books. But I always loved the movies. I could watch that every fucking day of my life, and that didn't change until like recently, pretty recently. All I could do was watch Harry Potter. And when I was a teen, I finally got into the books. And I fell in love with it so much more than I did until then, because somehow it mixed the child's nostalgia with the teenage kind of love for the books. And yeah, I am a bit of a bookworm myself. I think I could consider myself a bookworm. And yeah, I just fell in love with the book so much. And there was so much that explains shit from the movies that I never got before, and so much more detail, and so many more storylines that I didn't get before, and this world, fantasy world I already loved, just got bigger and bigger, and it was amazing, and nothing can describe the feeling as reading Harry Potter for the first time, you know, and yeah, I just fell in love with it so much. Then I sort of started becoming a bit of a collector of Harry Potter things. I was not like, if you watch like Harry Potter YouTubers, it's nothing like that. It's just like casual human collection, you know. I collected some of the books, I got a magic wand, I had some clothes, I had some, you know, as I said, posters, mugs, cups, and Funkos and Lego and all of that stuff. And I also had a group of friends who also loved Harry Potter, and it was also a hobby to share, and it was all just magical, no pun intended. It just became such a big part of my life. I was never ashamed for being a little nerdy and liking Harry Potter and not just Harry Potter, I was also a fan of like other shit that was very popular back then, like fucking Hunger Games, you know, and Divergent, and all those like fandoms that were very relevant these days, those past days. Well, I think a lot of them hold their relevance, or like certain level of relevance still these days. And I think Harry Potter could be that, but everything got fucked. And if you haven't been living under a rock, J.K. Rowling is not a nice person. We found out she's not a nice person. And what she's really been obsessed with for the last couple years is trans people. And as you might know, I am trans. And she's not very nice towards us, you know? I'm starting so nicely with this, but I think I will get heated up at some point of this video. J.K. Rowling is a transphobe. She's a TERF, which, you know, is trans-exclusive radical feminist. And if you know what that means, you know that's literally her. If you don't know what that word means and you've heard of J.K. Rowling, that's her. She's a TERF. She's exactly what a TERF is. And I was wondering if I could, like, talk about all the shit that she's done and said all those last couple years, but I was like, look, there's so much content on YouTube of people who talk about this a lot more in depth than me, so I'm just gonna quickly mention some of the points. I wanted to make this video for like sort of like a year, so all my notes about what she's done has stopped in 2022, so there's obviously new shit, which I don't follow as much anymore. So I'm gonna quickly get into it. It's not that detailed, it's just like to quickly show you just bits and bobs of the beautiful things she's done and said, yeah. So, if I give you the time scale, it sort of started in 2017 to 2018, and even though I was a big Harry Potter fan, I wasn't on Twitter following J.K. Rowling and like noticing this stuff. I didn't really read about this. I had pretty much no clue about this, and happy old me, you know. Yeah. So she basically around this time started liking some problematic tweets, as you could say, and you know, by problematic I mean transphobic. That's just, she started liking transphobic shit. And in 2019 she defended this British researcher, Maya Forstates, sorry if I'm not saying it right. I can barely read it after myself, because yes, I do have my trusty notes once again. And she basically defended her after she like lost her job over being transphobic, which, like, hey, guess what, you know, transphobes like to turn on the topic of free speech and shit, but if your free speech is just hateful shit, you can say it, but there will be consequences, surprisingly. Yeah, surprisingly. And she defended this woman for some freaking reason. If you haven't lived under a rock, you know the state of transphobia in this world right now. It's not just transphobia, but of course I'm gonna talk about transphobia specifically because it's the theme I understand as and live through as a actual trans person. So yeah, she already been accused of racism and some other shit, but I don't know much about that. And also, even though I would like to be a better ally to people of color, at the same time I feel like I'm not qualified to talk about it. Maybe I'll get there someday, but right now I just wanna focus on those issues of transphobia because I'm more comfortable talking about it, since it's something that affects me personally. At this point, if you aren't blind or like transphobic yourself, you know she's a TERF. In 2020, she was like basically super offended by someone saying people who menstruate, which, like, we are the snowflakes, right? But you get offended by, yeah. she also said something about, like, if sex isn't real, there's no same-sex attraction, and the tweet goes on, but I don't understand what she meant by this. I don't get it. I don't get it. So we'll also move past that. And the whole huge transphobic essay that she wrote came out, and I am gonna be honest right now, I didn't read the essay, but I know people who reacted to it, and I watched some trans people's content on that. If you wanna watch something like that, I would recommend Jamie Dodger. He talks about this a lot, and yeah, I am not gonna talk about it too much because I myself haven't read it, but at this point she was just, you know, she set out the fire and she decided to be actually this disgusting, hateful human being. Then, like, if I talk about the cast of Harry Potter a bit, Daniel Radcliffe himself, you know, Harry Potter, if you didn't know, the actor of Harry Potter, he himself works with the Trevor Project, and he publicly said he didn't agree with her, and he stands with trans people on this, and so did Emma Watson and Rupert Grint and Eddie Redmayne, who also, apart from the Fantastic Beasts, also played in the Danish Girl, which is like a story about a trans woman, and he plays trans woman there, and he also said he regretted playing in that, playing a trans person while he wasn't trans himself. But I don't want to get into my opinions on, like, trans people being played by non-trans actors. That's like a whole other topic, and I don't want to get into that right now. But basically, they all, like, express their basically their support for trans communities, saying that they do not support Rowling. She also randomly said, which is kind of out of the topic, but she also said that mentally ill people are just lazy. Which is just another thing. I know this doesn't have to do anything with transphobia, but I'm also a mentally ill person, so also fun fact that she also said, you know. So yeah, we're lazy. Just thought it was, well, not funny, but I'm laughing about it. If you see me laughing about this, it's not like because I don't think it's serious or hurtful or anything. It's just how I deal with those things myself, personally. And also in 2020, she wrote, like, this novel by her, like, fake name, who writes detective stories, which is Robert Galbraith. I'm sorry if I'm not pronouncing it completely right, but basically it's a detective story about a man who dresses up as a woman to hurt and kill women. It's like, there might be some symbolics, because this is exactly how she sees trans women, isn't it? That's exactly how she sees them. Also, later on, I read that the whole acronym of the name is also connected to some transphobic they had in the past. I don't know that much about it, but I just thought I would mention it. In January 2022, the whole, like, Harry Potter anniversary reunion show happened, and she didn't want to go there, which I'm glad. At least I could enjoy something Harry Potter, you know, these days. But yeah, she did not play part of this, even though she's literally the author of Harry Potter. I know, I'm guessing there was some drama. Of course, I don't know that much detail about it, but it's just my wild guess, okay? In October 2022 was some gender bill in Scotland, if I'm not wrong, which was something that was basically supposed to help trans people to transition and live as their true genders more easily. And she was very offended about that too. And yeah, basically this is where I'm gonna end it. I'm saying I was ended in 2022, but let's just say she keeps on going and she isn't stopping anytime soon. She's literally obsessed with us, isn't she? I don't want to talk about it into that much detail, but basically I think you got the fact that she's an awful human being and she's extremely transphobic. And even though I'm trans-masc and not a trans woman, it still hit me in a certain way, of course. It's still the trans community that she attacks, and you know, and of course I stand with trans women. So I'm basically gonna talk about my sort of feelings about this, because this video isn't supposed to be super educational. It's just supposed to be mostly about how I feel about this as a trans person who was a lifelong fan of Harry Potter. So basically, as I said, back in like 2017 and 18, I wasn't really even hearing about this shit. I didn't know anything like that. And so for a while, I didn't really know about all this shit that was slowly happening. And then when I first heard about it, I was like, well, that sucks. And I didn't have that much. I was like, yeah, a little upset that it sucked, and that it was author of my like favorite fucking books and like my favorite movies and shit. So of course it did upset me, but I was like, oh, and I think a lot of people at the time were like, yeah, she's just like middle-aged grumpy woman, she doesn't really get this shit anymore and stuff like that. Until her hate became way more obvious, way more brutal, and just too fucking big to ignore anymore. For the time, I did get fed up, and there was a time where I was still like watching all those movies and doing all things, even though realizing she's awful. I still like enjoyed the things. I was like, at this time I was already like thinking about, yeah, maybe I should not just buy new merch and all that shit that she owns, because I don't want to support her anymore, but I would still enjoy the movies and the books and stuff like that. And I must admit, my fault here, kind of, because not gonna lie, I did turn a bit of a blind eye here, even though it was something that affected me personally, because I was sort of always like, separate the art from the artist, as you might say, and I still kind of think that way. I just, in a way, it's like, I think this topic isn't completely just like black and white, but at the same time, realizing that it's not like she just said something, you know, bit homophobic back in the early 2000s where just people thought differently and she changed her mind now, and no, she's actively hurting the community in extreme ways. She's definitely one of the reasons why transphobia got so much worse in the world, especially like in the Great Britain, because yeah, comparing like Great Britain to Czech Republic, they were always so much friendlier towards this, and well, Czech Republic also isn't the place to compare to, you know, because it's also not good here. As she kept going and going and going, I was more realizing what she was actually doing and how much it was hurting people these days. And realizing that she will not apologize, that she will not change, and will only get worse. And suddenly, yeah, I was slowly getting fed up with that shit. Of course I was. I'm not completely blind. I was not completely blind to it. And also, like, you heard, at that point, you heard so much about it, especially, like, me being in the trans community. You follow other trans people and see their debates about all these things. One day, eventually, I did have the, like, and that was one of those days that she said something else, and I don't remember what it was specifically what she said that day, but I know it upset me so much, and maybe it wasn't even that much more horrible than what she was saying before, but it was just like I was slowly getting fed up. And then one day I was just like, that's it, that's enough, I can't do this anymore. And I kind of stopped liking Harry Potter, but not really, but I did. So basically at this point of my life, I'm realizing more this pain she caused and all that bad stuff. I'm realizing it way more since I've had my like big moment, you know. And as I was saying, I have this bit of a separating art from the artist thing that I still partially agree with to a certain degree. And I was just like, I decided I would not buy anything official by her apart from one thing, and that's Lego. But it's maybe talk about it later. But apart from that, I was like, I'm not gonna support it anyway anymore. It's just this shit is not worth it. And I was like, hey, I can still buy the books secondhand. In one way, I was like, yeah, she's already rich as fuck, so I don't know if that will do much. But then I also realized it does something. Because she seems pretty desperate lately. It's almost like, as I was saying in the beginning, your actions have consequences. And it did, and a lot of people turned against her. I see a lot of people selling their Harry Potter books and all that shit. So, yeah, this is where I, like, officially decided not to support her in this way. But there were those feelings that I had about it, I still might watch it. But at this point, where I got just, it was too much at some point, and I just didn't want to read or watch Harry Potter. And if you've had some hobby, love for something in your life, you know how much that hits. And in this specific way, it hit really, really a lot. And it was heartbreaking. Just, if I could explain to you how much love I felt for this whole thing and how huge part of my life that was. As I was saying, emo music, Harry Potter, that's why I am me today. And this shit was just so fucking sad. And I realized that, yeah, I could read the books and I could watch the movies or whatever, but I didn't feel like it anymore. I just didn't want to do it anymore. And I can't remember the last time I watched Harry Potter. And that never happened to me in my life, because I would watch it all the time. At least once a month, I would, like, watch the fucking whole thing, okay? And there was also a period of time where, like, people would still get me Harry Potter things, especially my mother. She just gives me so much Harry Potter stuff, and I didn't ask her to, so I still need to, like, have the conversation with her that please stop buying me Harry Potter shit, because I don't, you know. And it's just all a super sad thing for me, and it's just, I know I'll never be fucking obsessed with the universum as much as I was with this one. Nothing will replace that ever in my life. I know that, and that shit sucks. And so to just kind of finish it with where I'm at right now, I would say I'm not super, like, judgy over people who still, like, support her, buying merchandise and all that shit. I'm not. I get it. You just love Harry Potter. It doesn't mean you love J.K. Rowling. But I would also encourage those people to think about it more, I guess. I'm not judging, but because I get it. But yeah, I would encourage you to think about it more. So, for example, I would not recommend watching the TV show that's supposed to come. Also, I think it's gonna be shit. So that's other whole thing. So, like that. I mean, you do whatever you want. And where I'm at, I'm not saying that I'll never watch Harry Potter again, or read Harry Potter, or anything like that. I'm pretty confident to say that I will not support her, apart from the Lego. I'm gonna talk about it as the last topic. And I would just not buy any official merch, and if I want to get something, I'll get it secondhand, or I just will not get it. It's fine. And it's just all, I cannot say 5 years in the future, or a year in the future, or like a month, maybe I change my mind, maybe I feel like watching Harry Potter, maybe it's gonna come on Christmas, because I just love watching Harry Potter on Christmas, so maybe I will like it again. But at this point, I'm just so disgusted, and I just personally cannot separate her from this anymore, and I'm so mad about it. And it's really fucking sad. I'm not saying I'm gonna throw away all the merch that I got. I already thought of selling some books. I already thought of selling some Funkos and shit. But, like, that's about it right now. One thing I still will buy is Lego. And that is because, well, first of all, not a lot of that money goes to Rowling, okay? It just mostly goes to Lego. So that's one thing. Other thing is, it's just, I take it as a separate hobby, and that is Lego, and I don't want to give up this thing also because of, or the one thing that I already kind of gave up on, you know? If you know what I mean, some people might judge me for this, but I just, okay, according to my conscience, I think this is fine. But everyone might have a different thoughts and opinions on this, so I will continue buying Lego. I don't, especially when I like collected most of the things I wanted, and I have just very few sets left that I wanted to get. And hey, maybe one day I'll realize I don't want to have anything to do with this, and I'll sell it all. I don't know. Okay, it's a big question for me right now, but we just shall see. But right now I would just like to avoid this whole thing as much as I can, and definitely avoid buying all that shit to support her. So that's just my thoughts right now. I am pretty much, well, a couple months ago I was very heartbroken, and I feel like I'm finally kind of started getting over it, but it's still it saddens me very much, definitely, because as I was saying, a huge part of my life, but this is where I am right now. And yeah, that's it for this video. So maybe if you wanna, you can comment on your feelings or how you feel about this, if you're part of LGBT community, if you're trans and you like Harry Potter, if you're cishet who likes Harry Potter or doesn't anymore. You can write something down in the comments. We can chat about it, maybe, if there's anyone to chat with in the comments. But if there is, I'm open to conversation. And that's pretty much everything for this video. So thank you so much for watching. Until the next time, where hopefully we're getting a happier video. But I do have some video ideas and that I'm getting very excited about. So yeah, it's probably gonna be happier the next time. So till the next time, bye.